Welcome to a world where every secret, betrayal, and hidden agenda finally comes to light. Here, family dramas unfold with shocking twists that expose the raw truth behind every marriage, relationship, and carefully guarded secret. Imagine a life shattered by deception, only to rise stronger with a meticulously planned comeback that outsmarts every scheme. Picture distance and patience becoming weapons, revealing patterns of control, entitlement, and manipulation that no one saw coming. Every confrontation, every revelation peels back layers of false appearances, showing the emotional scars left by betrayal, while the quiet mind behind the scenes orchestrates justice with precision. Hidden agendas fall like dominoes, and secrets long buried surface in a sequence that captivates, unsettles, and leaves a lasting mark on everyone involved. If you're ready for gripping, heart-pounding stories where nothing is as it seems and every truth comes at a price, you've found your place. Everything began with a quiet realization that the life once trusted was nothing but a carefully constructed illusion. Every smile, every word of reassurance, every promise had been a thread in a web of deception, spun by someone who knew exactly how to manipulate trust. The betrayal didn't announce itself. It crept in, subtle as a shadow at dusk, until the cracks in the perfect marriage became undeniable. And when the truth finally hit, it wasn't just heartbreak, it was a call to action. Plans formed in the silence of sleepless nights, strategies that would turn the tables in ways that no one could anticipate. Every move he might make was imagined in advance, every reaction anticipated with precision. It wasn't enough to simply escape. There had to be a reckoning, a careful orchestration that exposed not only his lies, but the arrogance that made him think he could outsmart consequences. Watching him operate in ignorance, confident that the past was buried, became almost intoxicating. The beauty of it lay in the subtlety. Nothing was overt, nothing screamed revenge at first glance. Every small step, an international relocation, the discreet settling of financial matters, careful documentation of secrets, built a network of inevitability. It was in the overlooked details, the quiet victories hidden behind polite smiles and measured words, that the true power took root. With every passing day, the picture of his manipulations became clearer, a pattern so intricate that the revelation would shake even the most confident assumptions. The shock wasn't in a single confrontation, but in the unveiling of a life lived on false pretenses. Friends, colleagues, even family were caught in the subtle shock waves, seeing the truths that had been concealed for so long. It was more than strategy. It was a lesson in foresight, a testament to how carefully understanding the mind of someone who underestimates consequences can turn betrayal into exposure. By the time the final pieces fell into place, the air was thick with unspoken astonishment. Every hidden motive, every calculated slight, every mask he had worn was laid bare, undeniable and irreversible. And in the stillness that followed, one simple truth remained. Those who underestimate what has been quietly prepared often pay the price first. The moment came when distance was no longer an obstacle. It became a weapon. Borders that once separated lives now offered a kind of invisible armor, a shield behind which truths could be uncovered without interference. Each phone call, each message, each carefully timed meeting was calculated to reveal patterns he never realized existed. What had seemed like normal family dynamics now unfolded as a series of manipulations, subtle exertions of control that had been mistaken for affection. It wasn't just about the lies anymore. It was about understanding the entire architecture of entitlement, the way power had been quietly hoarded and wielded behind the smile of a husband who believed his influence absolute. Every choice he had made, decisions in business, in social circles, even in small domestic matters, now appeared in a new light, pieces of a puzzle that spelled out arrogance and deceit. Every secret long buried whispered its way to the surface, exposing not only personal betrayals, but the shockingly calculated way he had tried to dominate lives that were never truly his to control. Traveling across continents became part of the strategy, each trip a move on a board only he did not see. Allies turned into witnesses, casual acquaintances became inadvertent participants in revealing truths, and what he thought was hidden power slowly shifted into exposure. Patterns once invisible now glimmered with clarity, and the realization struck harder because it was never sudden. Every revelation had been patiently orchestrated, every betrayal documented, every slight accounted for. It was astonishing to see how someone so confident could be so blind to the consequences of their own design. The unraveling wasn't loud or chaotic, it was precise, inevitable, and undeniable. The entanglements of lies, manipulation, and entitlement that had seemed unbreakable began to fracture under their own weight, revealing the emptiness behind authority he had wielded so carelessly. The shock wasn't just his, it radiated through everyone connected to the story, leaving a trail of astonishment and raw, unfiltered truth. By the time the final truths had been revealed, there was no room for denial, no ability to spin the narrative back in his favor. Every action, every calculated move, every secret that had been guarded so jealously became evidence of the reality he had refused to see. And in that quiet, undeniable reckoning, it became clear that control and entitlement are only illusions when faced with the patience of foresight. The confrontations didn't come with shouting or dramatics. They arrived in quiet, piercing moments that left no room for denial. Every glance, every word exchanged in passing, carried a weight he couldn't recognize, a tension built from years of unspoken truths. The calm he took for granted was a mask, carefully maintained while, beneath the surface, a mind worked tirelessly, anticipating every possible misstep, every attempt to manipulate the narrative in his favor. Each revelation hit with authenticity, exposing the scars he never imagined existed, the subtle wounds inflicted by betrayals long ignored. It was remarkable how easily the outward appearances deceived him. The world saw composure, serenity, the trace of smiles that seemed innocent, but behind each gesture lay calculation, a deliberate orchestration designed to unearth the depth of his deceit without warning. Every casual question, every carefully placed comment acted as a probe, extracting fragments of truth he believed were hidden forever. His confidence faltered, not in grand exposure, but in the quiet, undeniable proofs of manipulation that had always existed, now revealed in layers he could not unravel. The emotional landscape was raw. Pain, resentment, and shock coexisted with the satisfaction of anticipation fulfilled. There were times when his disbelief was almost palpable, the tension in the room thick enough to taste. What he had assumed were trivial incidents, minor slights, now transformed into evidence of intent, a trail pointing straight to his arrogance and control. Witnessing the dissonance between the calm exterior and the strategic precision behind each move was a lesson in subtle dominance, a reminder that true power often hides behind patience and foresight. Even casual observers began to notice shifts, micro-reactions that spoke volumes, subtle cues that unveiled truths long ignored. Every interaction became a chess match, but one in which the board had already been tilted, every piece positioned for an inevitable checkmate he could never predict. What seemed effortless and natural concealed the painstaking preparation of consequences, and the shock came not from aggression, but from the quiet inevitability of truth laid bare. When the final revelation settled, there was no escape, no way to hide behind charm or manipulation. The duality of appearance versus reality had been shattered, leaving only the undeniable proof of betrayal and the meticulous design that had finally exposed it all. The quiet satisfaction was absolute, because some truths demand patience to be fully understood. Every carefully hidden agenda finally revealed itself, one by one, like dominoes set in motion by years of patient observation. What had seemed like random decisions, casual choices, and minor indiscretions suddenly aligned into a pattern so deliberate that it stunned everyone who had once believed in his innocence. The quiet arrogance that allowed him to assume he controlled every situation became his undoing, each concealed action now a testament to how thoroughly he had underestimated the consequences of his own manipulation. Secrets long buried emerged in a sequence so precise it was impossible to ignore. Each revelation tore away the veneer of privilege, the smug confidence he wore as if it were armor, and exposed a man desperate to control, to dominate, to dictate outcomes without ever accounting for the resilience that had quietly grown in the shadows. Every ally he had taken for granted, every friend who had believed his side of the story, was confronted with undeniable proof that the narrative they had trusted had been built on lies. The obsession that had governed his every decision became visible in its starkest form. Documents, messages, and even the smallest details of his daily life were revealed as evidence of an intent that had been carefully concealed. Each exposure did more than shock, it unsettled, forcing him to confront the consequences of the control he had assumed was absolute. It wasn't about humiliation, it was about truth, and in truth, there is no escape from accountability. The tension built with every disclosure, every domino toppling in a sequence he never anticipated. What had been hidden for so long now demanded recognition, and the realization hit hardest because it was gradual, methodical, and undeniable. The intricate web of lies, the obsession with appearances, the manipulation of perceptions, all of it collapsed under the weight of meticulous preparation. By the time the final truth emerged, there was no room left for denial, no ability to rewrite history or escape the consequences of choices made in arrogance. The carefully orchestrated sequence of revelations left only one certainty: that no amount of manipulation or entitlement can withstand the inevitability of exposure. The consequences of underestimating patience are always absolute. If this story left you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more gripping tales of betrayal, secrets, and calculated revenge. Share your thoughts in the comments. What would you have done in this situation? Stay tuned because the next story will reveal even more shocking twists, hidden motives, and unforgettable family drama you won't want to miss. Click subscribe and turn on notifications to never miss a moment of truth.